All right, let's jump into this deep dive on Cadiz. Sounds like you're stopping there on a cruise, and you've sent us this guidebook specifically for cruise passengers visiting the city.
Yeah, it's great. Looks like we've got a lot to unpack here.
Definitely. But hey, that's what these deep dives are for, right?
Yeah.
We're going to help you make the most of your time in Cadiz. From what I'm seeing, you've got easy access to the city center, beautiful beaches, a whole tapa scene waiting for you, and some seriously unique attractions.
Well, what's really cool is how Cadiz seems to really cater to cruise visitors.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not just like a quick stop, you know? They've really embraced being a cruise destination. They've got the convenience factor down, and there's just so much to experience tacked into this place.
Yeah, and this guide wastes no time telling us about that. Look at this, a 5 to 10 minute walk from the port to the city center. That's pretty amazing.
I mean, that's unheard of, right?
Mhm.
Especially when you're on a tight schedule. That's a huge advantage. Plus, you've got a couple of terminal options to choose from.
Oh, tell me about those.
So you've got the Alfonso III Pier that boasts a much larger terminal, has all those fancy amenities and all that, you know. But then you've got the Ciudad Pier, and it's all about that scenic stroll right into the city.
Okay, so a choice between convenience and a picturesque walk. I like it. Tough choice, though. But either way, you're going to be exploring Cadiz in no time. And speaking of exploring, I think you mentioned wanting to really experience it like a local, and you even sent over this really interesting audio-guided tour.
You're talking about the ancient city by the sea on Voice Map.
That's the one. It's by this guy, Clive Muir. Sounds like he's been living there forever.
He's practically Mr. Cadiz at this point. I mean, he runs a bunch of tourism websites focusing on the region, too. He even has one called Wildside Holidays. It's all about promoting eco-friendly travel in Andalusia.
It's like he's devoted his life to sharing this beautiful corner of Spain with the world. And I think this audio tour is like the perfect way to tap into his knowledge. He must have a ton of passion for Cadiz.
Oh, absolutely. You can explore at your own pace, you know? You're delving into these historical streets with Clive as your personal guide. Pause, rewind, revisit any spot that grabs your attention. It's independent exploration with expert insight.
I love that. I think it's going to be like having this knowledgeable friend, whispering these fascinating stories and secrets in your ear as you wander around those ancient straits.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Now, besides the audio tour, this guide really pushes La Caleta Beach. Seems like it's a big deal,
Yeah.
and just a short walk or bus ride from the port.
La Caleta's got a lot going for it. It's not just a beach. It's all wrapped up in history and romance. I mean, you'll find it in Goya paintings. It's been in films. It adds a little bit of artistic flair, wouldn't you say?
It sounds very atmospheric.
Yeah.
This guide also suggests the hop-on, hop-off bus as a convenient way to get around to the other sites.
Yeah, the bus is great if you want to cover a bit more ground, especially if you want to go further afield. It's definitely a flexible option.
All right, so beaches and transportation, checked.
Mhm.
But let's move on to food. I know you're big on trying the local cuisine, and this guide is pointing us straight to the Plaza de San Juan de Dios and the streets around it. Says it's a tapas paradise.
That's the heart of Cadiz right there. You're going to
Yeah.
be stepping into the soul of the city, that's for sure. This historic square, it's buzzing with locals, tourists. It's just pure energy.
I can't wait to see it. Okay, so we've got our lively square for tapas, but what if you really want to dive into that local culinary scene?
Well, for that, you've got to hit the Mercado Central. It's more than just buying produce. It's about taking it all in. The sights, the sounds, the smells of a real Spanish market.
Oh, I can imagine. It's like a feast for the senses.
Exactly. You've got those stalls overflowing with everything, fruits, vegetables, seafood, all that good stuff.
Freshly baked bread.
You bet.
Spices, too.
Oh, you'll be smelling those a mile away.
Yeah.
And hey, while we're on the topic, you mentioned wanting to grab some unique souvenirs, local goods, that sort of thing. The Mercado Central is a goldmine for all that.
Perfect. I'm thinking handmade stuff, crafts, maybe some local specialties to take back home. Okay, so we've got tapas, markets, beaches. Now, Cadiz is overflowing with history. We can't forget about that.
Oh, absolutely. We've got the cathedral with its tower views, the Roman theater, all these layers of history just waiting to be explored.
Talk about a journey through time. I'm already imagining myself up in that cathedral tower taking in those panoramic views. Speaking of which, this guide says the Torre Tavira is the highest point in the old city. Definitely adding that to the list.
Oh, the Torre Tavira, it's more than just a viewpoint. It was a watchtower, back in the day, part of the city's defense system. I bet you anything there are some crazy stories about watchmen spotting enemy ships from up there.
Oh, I'd love to hear those stories. And then there are those imposing fortifications. The Castillo de San Sebastian and Castillo de Santa Catalina, they seem to stand guard over the city.
Yeah, those are reminders of just how strategically important Cadiz has been throughout history. It was constantly facing challenges, sieges, all that. Castillo de San Sebastian especially. It's perched on a little rocky island connected to the mainland by a causeway that gets submerged at high tide. Can you imagine that?
Wow. It's incredible to think about what those fortifications must have witnessed over the centuries.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can't forget Plaza de España. This guide says it has a monument to the Constitution of 1812. Seems important.
It is. Plaza de España is more than just the square. It's like a symbol of Spain's journey to democracy. That monument commemorates the first Spanish constitution, drafted right there in Cadiz during the Napoleonic Wars.
It's amazing how much history is packed into one city. Okay, I've got one more practical question. Safety.
Oh, right. Well, the guide stresses how welcoming the atmosphere is in Cadiz and how there's a strong police presence. It's considered a very safe city, especially for tourists.
I'm hearing that it's great for solo travelers, couples, families, everyone.
Exactly. It's all about feeling comfortable and confident to wander and soak it all in.
Now, while Cadiz itself seems like it has enough to keep us busy for weeks, this guide also mentions excursions to places like Seville, the White Villages, even Gibraltar. It's tempting.
Well, that's where the location of Cadiz really shines again. It's a springboard to all these different places and experiences.
And lots of those tours even pick you up right at the port.
Talk about convenient, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think we need to circle back to Clive Muir and his audio tour, The Ancient City by the Sea. I really think this is the perfect starting point.
Oh, 100%. It'll set the tone for your entire visit. You'll be immersed in all that history from the moment you step off the ship.
I can already picture you there. Narrow streets, earbuds in, Clive's voice guiding you through the centuries. You can stop for a coffee, rewind if you miss something, soak it all in at your own pace.
It's like having your own personal time machine, right?
Exactly. And Clive's not just an expert on Cadiz. This guy is passionate about the whole region. He runs websites for Ronda, Grazalema, even the Caminito del Rey.
Caminito del Rey. That's the walkway clinging to the gorge, right?
The one and only. He really knows his stuff.
Mm.
So even if you decide to venture out beyond the city, you've got Clive's expertise in your back pocket.
Talk about finding the ultimate insider.
So what do you think? Sounds like an incredible stop, right?
It's shaping up to be a good one. Cadiz seems to offer that perfect blend of history, culture, relaxation, and adventure. And with a resource like Clive's tour, well, you can really experience it all in your own terms.
All right, before we get into mapping out those tapas bars and markets, let's take a quick pause. We'll be back in a flash to continue uncovering all the hidden gems that Cadiz has to offer. All right, we're back. Ready to dive back into your Cadiz adventure. We've touched on the highlights, but I really want to get into this Ancient City by the Sea audio tour. I think this Clive Muir guy has got some tricks up his sleeve.
Oh, I bet he does. I mean, we're talking about the historic heart of Cadiz here. This city is over 3,000 years old.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, older than Rome even. Founded by Phoenician navigators. It's one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in all of Western Europe. Think about that for a second. The layers of history just embedded in those streets.
It's mind-blowing. And this guide talks about how Cadiz was this key player after the discovery of America, became this major port for trade and exploration. I'm thinking that era must have really shaped the city we see today.
Oh, for sure. It's amazing to think about those galleons, loaded with treasures from the New World, all coming into Cadiz, transforming it into this hub of wealth and cultural exchange. I'm really curious to see how Clive brings all of that to life in his tour.
Me too. And this guy also mentions how Cadiz's connection to the sea is still so strong. It's in their culture, their festivals, even the cuisine. It's like it's woven into the fabric of the city.
It really is. It's fascinating how a city's history can shape its identity for centuries, like a thread through time connecting everything. Clive must have a deep understanding of that, being there for so long.
Okay, let's have some fun. Let's do a little guessing game. Where do you think Clive's tour might take us? Any landmarks you'd bet money on?
Oh, okay. I'd say it's a safe bet that the cathedral is on the list. It's not just a beautiful building. It really represents the heart of Cadiz's religious and cultural heritage,
And those tower views.
Oh, yeah. Climbing the tower for those views is a must. But you know what I'm really interested in? The stories behind it all. I want to know what Clive has to say about its construction, its secrets, what its place is in the city's story.
Yes, give me those hidden details. Okay, what about the Roman theater? Imagine standing in a place that once hosted gladiatorial combats.
It's like a direct link to that ancient Roman world.
I wonder if Clive has any juicy stories or scandals he can share about that place.
Oh, I hope so. Those are the kinds of details that really bring history to life.
Agreed. Now, we can't forget about those panoramic views from the Tortevera. It's got to be on the tour, right?
Oh, definitely. But remember, the Tortevera wasn't just a place for a nice view. It played a critical role in Cadiz's defense. It was a watchtower.
Oh, right.
I'm picturing Clive telling stories about watchmen spotting enemy ships, signaling warnings. It's like something out of an adventure novel.
I can almost see it now. I'm hoping Clive also takes us off the beaten path a bit, leads us down those little alleyways and into those charming corners that really reveal the character of a place.
Absolutely. You find the most authentic experiences away from those crowds. Maybe Clive will point out some architectural details, share some local legends, or even take us to a hidden tapas bar or two. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. Those little unexpected encounters and local insights, those are what make a trip memorable. And knowing Clive's focus on sustainable and eco-friendly travel, I'm thinking he'll definitely highlight that side of Cadiz too.
You're right. Maybe he'll talk about local artisans keeping those traditions alive. Or maybe he'll showcase some responsible tourism initiatives.
I love that. It's not just about sightseeing, it's about experiencing Cadiz in a way that respects its past, present, and future.
I think that's what makes exploring a place like this so enriching.
Okay, we've got historical landmarks, those hidden alleyways, and a bit of responsible tourism thrown in. What else could Clive possibly have planned?
Well, he's passionate about this region, so I wouldn't be surprised if he shared a few local legends or folk tales. Those always add a little something special. Bit of magic and mystery.
Oh, I love that. Imagine hearing about ancient myths or ghost stories while you're wandering those centuries-old streets. It would be amazing.
It would really bring those streets to life. And knowing Clive's love for nature, I'm betting he'll weave in some elements of the environment, too.
Like what? I'm intrigued.
Well, Cadiz has some beautiful parks and gardens, like the Parque Genove. Maybe he'll take us on a detour through one of those green spaces. Or he might even point out some of the native plants and animals.
I can picture it now. A peaceful stroll through a park while Clive is explaining the history of some rare flower.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like a history lesson meets a nature walk.
You got it. It's all about fostering a deeper appreciation for the place you're visiting. Now, we know Clive's audio tour is going to be fantastic for immersing yourself in the heart of Cadiz, but we need to remember your other interests, too. You want to experience the culinary scene, do a little shopping, and maybe even see those fortifications up close.
Right, and we've only got so much time in port. How are we going to fit it all in?
Okay, let's get strategic. Remember, the port is super close to the city center, so that's a huge plus. What if we dedicate the morning to Clive's audio tour? You can explore at your own pace and really absorb the atmosphere.
Okay, I like that. And since the tour probably wraps up somewhere in the city center, we'll be perfectly placed to grab some lunch and finally experience those tapas you've been dreaming of.
Plaza de San Juan de Dios, here we come. And after we fueled up on delicious food and local flavors, we can wander through those nearby shops, picking up those souvenirs and gifts.
I'm already thinking about all the unique treasures I'm going to find. Okay, so we've got the tour, tapas, and shopping covered. What about La Caleta Beach? And what about those fortifications in those panoramic views?
Don't worry, we're not forgetting about those. We can plan our route on the hop-on, hop-off bus so that we pass by those landmarks. Even if we don't have time to hop off, we can still appreciate them and snap some photos.
I love it. It's like we're creating the ultimate Cadiz puzzle, and each piece fits perfectly.
Exactly. That's the power of a well-planned itinerary. It maximizes your time without feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, we've covered so much ground, but we haven't really talked about the modern heartbeat of Cadiz. This city is steeped in history, but how does it navigate the present, especially with all these cruise ships coming in?
You're right. We've explored the past, but now it's time to delve into the present. And that's exactly what we'll do when we come back for the final part of our Cadiz deep dive.
All right, we're back and ready to wrap up our Cadiz deep dive. I feel like we've really gotten to know the heart of this city, its history, those amazing landmarks, and of course, Clive Muir's fantastic audio tour. But I'm thinking about the present now. How does a city with such deep roots in the past navigate the modern world, especially as a big cruise destination?
You're hitting on a really interesting point. I'm looking at the guide, and it actually highlights the port itself as being very modern. It has two terminals, all equipped to handle those massive cruise ships we see today.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and they even talk about all the security measures, emphasizing how important that is, both for the port and the cruise lines.
Right, I see that. Makes sense. I guess it shows that Cadiz is really in tune with its role in global tourism. They're making sure visitors have a safe and smooth experience.
I think so, yeah. It's like they're striking this balance, preserving their incredible heritage while also embracing the demands of modern travel.
Yeah, I get that.
It makes me wonder, though, what do the locals think about all these cruise passengers coming in? Is it a source of pride to share their city, or is there a little bit of apprehension about the impacts of mass tourism?
That's a great question. I'd imagine it's a mix of everything, right?
Yeah.
Tourism brings economic benefits, and it introduces Cadiz to the world. But there's always that concern about staying authentic and avoiding the downsides of too much tourism.
It's a tricky situation for a lot of historic cities. And it brings us right back to Clive Muir and his focus on that sustainable tourism angle. I wonder if his tour touches on these contemporary issues at all. It would be fascinating to get that local's perspective.
I bet it does. He seems very mindful about the responsibility of showcasing a place like it is. It's not just about checking things off a list, right? It's encouraging a deeper level of understanding and respect.
Exactly. It's about making a real connection, going beyond the surface. And I think that's what makes this whole deep dive so valuable for you. It's not just planning a trip. It's about experiencing Cadiz in a more meaningful way.
You said it. So as you step off that cruise ship and onto the streets of Cadiz, remember this. Look beyond the tourist attractions and really try to connect with the soul of the city.
Imagine all those echoes of the past, those traders and legends, mixed with the energy of modern life. It's all part of what makes Cadiz unique.
Let Clive Muir be your guide through those historical streets, but also give yourself permission to just get lost in the moment, savor all those sights and sounds, and really taste those amazing flavors.
And as you wander through those streets, think about this. How does Cadiz's past shape its present, and how does tourism factor into its future?
I love that. That's something to ponder as you explore. We're so excited for you to experience the magic of Cadiz. Have a fantastic time, and until our next deep dive, happy travels.